What's up guys, Mike here, back with another video. Last couple weeks I have got that 180 up and running for the Xingu Peacock Bass, give them a little bit more space. I also buffed the inside and outside of the front panel a bit, so I'll take you through that a little bit in this video, and I will do a few updates on some tanks. Okay guys, so all I've done was wipe it down with water and a cloth. There was a pretty good biofilm that had dried, and there was algae that had dried because I was lazy when I broke it down. I was doing enough. I did not want to clean it, even though it was the best time to clean it was when it was still wet, but whatever. So all I've done is clean it, and I will try to get especially some of those white scratches out. It's hard to focus on them, but those were from when Pinky was in this tank. I know better now. Don't keep him in acrylic tanks. Yeah, you. Don't keep you. I'm going to buff this front panel inside and out. I should probably do the sides. We'll see how lazy I get. This tank is never going to be a show tank, and it's never going to be very nice, so this is pretty unnecessary, but I'm going to do it anyway, clean it up a little bit, clean that front tank up, and then I'm going to move the two Xingu Bass to this. So let's get started. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this is the novice polishing kit. It comes in 3 steps, and it comes with directions in which order to use them. So you start with 1, which seems obvious, and then you basically move to 3, and then you work your way back. So you go 1, 3, 2, 1. But for this application and my knowledge of how many times I've done this, I'm going to skip step 3 because it's useless. I don't have any deep scratches. Step 3 is for deep scratches, basically. But I've found that 2 seems to be the most effective in every case, and that's why I have so many extra bottles of 2. And basically, you need all of it. So I've done some larger tanks than this, and I have learned the hard way that you run out of 2 very quickly. So I don't have much of 3 left anyway, but I'm not going to even use it. I'm just going to go to town with 2. So I'm going to clean it with 1 first, and then I'm going to buff with the second step. I really didn't want to turn this into a how-to video, but a lot of people really wanted to see it, so I might as well explain what I'm doing. These novice kits come with certain types of cloth, and I've found that they are the safest to use, so I ordered a bunch more of them, and now I'm pretty much on my last leg of them. But luckily I don't have a lot to do for this tank, so I'm going to clean the front and the inside, the outside and inside, with this first one to start. Now, anyone who has done this before is probably going to laugh at me, but I have a lot of these different attachments for polishing, and no lie, I personally have just found, unless you're doing some sanding or anything like that, that these cloths seem to be the best for polishing. I have found that it works best. So what I've done to save myself some time by not doing it by hand is I just wrap this in the cloths and then put an elastic around it And I know this is very ghetto and some people are going to laugh at me, but that's okay. I have found that this works really well. Beware, this makes a mess. So that is basically all I'm gonna do for the front. Now again, if you have a tank that's really bad, you're gonna wanna spend a lot more time on this. Not only is this tank not all that bad, but it's never going to be a show tank. So keep that in mind. I don't care much. Whereas like the 240, I cared. So I put a lot of time into that. It's on the first floor of my house kind of thing. It's more of a showy type tank. Everyone's gonna see it when they walk in. This, it is a utility for me kind of thing, you know, it's a necessity. So I don't need this to look that great. And all I've done so far is the outside of the tank. It's not that bad. The inside is a lot worse. So I'll spend a little bit more time on the inside now. The important part to this step is after you have buffed, you let it dry. So if you see spots or a big scratch or something like that, spend more time on it. Even go in there with your hand and work perpendicular to the scratch and then let it dry once it's done. So, or once you're done really buffing it as much as you can. So we're gonna let that dry and I'm gonna focus on the inside. And I'm gonna try to not rub off too much of the outside stuff while I'm doing the inside, but it's not too big of a deal if some of it rubs off on my sweatshirt or whatever. Another thing that I wanted to stress was, if you really want to do a good job on this, do the outside first and then clean it off after it dries and then do the inside, because then you can really tell if your scratch is on the inside or the outside. What I'm doing here, again, I am half-assing this because I don't care, but I did want to give you guys an idea of how I buff these tanks. So that's all this is, really not a how-to video because I'm not doing this efficiently. I'm just doing it to make it look better. So keep that in mind. If you really want to do a good job, do one side at a time. All right, guys, I gave this about, I want to say 20 minutes, half hour to dry, inside and out. So now I'm just going to rub it clean. And this step is actually really important also. You want to kind of rub like you're polishing. Alright guys, that is it. So up here, there is some crazing. That is not going to come out, obviously. But just with very little work, I didn't do much work at all on this, as you guys saw. Very much just rushed through this. I got rid of a lot of those white scratches from Pinky. So I can see, nope, that's a hair. It's very staticky right now, but I think that's good. I'm very happy. I didn't put much time into it, and it looks way better. If you ever want to freshen up a tank without putting too much work into it, hey, do one quick, buff job to it like this, and you'll get some good results. I'm happy with that. So here we are, all up and running now. It looks pretty good. I did have to divide them off. They are both doing good, and they both eat pretty well. This one sits on the bottom still, and I'm not sure why. He was doing that in the 1100 also, but he eats just fine. In fact, when he knows that I'm going to feed him, he comes up and eats like normal. And this one does not sit on the bottom, so I don't know. Their color is a bit faded. I don't know why exactly. They just seem stressed all the time, but they both eat fine. So I'm not sure. This has been going on for months with them now. Things have seemed to be a little bit off, but then they eat fine and act fine. So I don't know. But anyway, the 180 came out really good. I might, in the long run, I might just end up rehoming both of them. I'd like them to both be acting 100. Obviously, this one's fine. This one I don't feel is acting 100%, but I still might, once I feel like this one is acting a little bit more normal, I just might rehome both of them to somebody with a bunch more bass, maybe a big community. I think it would be better for them, because I don't really have a ideal setup for them right now, and I don't love having this divided off. It's kind of silly. So yeah, in the future I might just end up rehoming them. We shall see. But for now, they got a lot of space at least. It's much better than trying to put them in that 55. I have broke down my quarantine tank altogether for now, for the time being. Also, I did pick up a bunch of pieces of driftwood that I'm floating. One nice piece in this tank, and in the 1100 I'm floating a bunch of larger pieces here. There's 3 larger pieces. All of them are over 6 feet long. So I just want to waterlog them. I'd like to put one of those in the 240 upstairs, and I think I will just keep the other 2 in this. I might weigh them down with some rocks, just so they sink a little quicker, because it's been a couple days. I actually expected them to sink on their own because they are kind of a soft wood, but they haven't really sunk, so I think I'm going to just tie them to some rocks just to weigh them down. But the fish are really enjoying that. I figured they would. Fish love overhead cover. So, kind of cool anyway. It blocks a little bit of the light, but not really a big deal. Everything's been doing really well in the 1100 here, so I'm happy about that. I moved the Vieja Sinspillum back to this tank. If you guys remember, I moved it to the 1100. That did not work out. He was just acting extra special stressed, and he wasn't eating in there. I think he's just a little too small. That was a pretty big environment for him. So he's not big enough for that yet. So he is back here doing well and eating well. On a sad note, I lost my Wallago Leary. So it's been a few weeks since this happened, but long story short is he tried to eat a fish that was too big for him, and it appears that he choked on it and died. So I found him with the fish in his mouth, halfway in his mouth, and both him and the fish had died. So I'm really upset about that. That is my fault. I take full responsibility for that. I really have not stopped kicking myself for that poor decision. I knew that I needed to move him out, and I waited too long. My plan was to put him into the 240 upstairs, and again, I just waited too long. So that is my fault. I feel really bad. He was such an awesome catfish to watch grow. He had gotten really big. He was maybe about 14 inches, and I got him, he was like 3 inches. I got him from predatory fins. He grew really quick, and he was just such an awesome catfish. I'm really upset at myself. It was nothing but pure neglect on my part, so I feel very bad about that. But moving on, the rest of the tank is doing really well. I did move the Moda from the 240 upstairs because the Red Devil was just relentlessly picking on him, and I was worried for his safety. So I moved him down here. Now, originally he was with these fish a while back, and he was too aggressive for them. So I have to keep an eye on him. I'm hoping that them settling in here without him for a while, and now him moved to this environment, will help keep him from getting overly territorial. But we shall see. Right now he's a little skittish, but he's been in here for like a week or so now and doing just fine. My background on this tank is still falling down. I apologize for that. I keep fixing it, and then it falls down a little bit. So that looks a little tacky, but so doesn't the whole stand. I still haven't finished the stand on this tank either. But as far as the fish are going, other than my stupidity with the while ago, everything's doing pretty well in here. Everything gets along. And yeah, that's pretty much it for an update on this tank. It's definitely a cool community tank, and it's really cool that it's so tall. I still love this tank. So on a happier, more exciting note, I got the first piece to the next tank that I want to build over the weekend. So I'll show you guys some pictures of this piece of glass that I picked up for a really good price. So the next tank is going to be bigger than the 1100, and my goal is to make it a lot cheaper than the 1100 was. So the 1100 cost, you know, somewhere around $2,000 without filtration, which at the time was great to me because I got a big tank for actually a decent amount of money. However, I want to prove that I can do that cheaper. So I think I can do it for half the price. So I will keep you guys updated, obviously, as that comes along. Right now, I'm just getting pieces because I do have a long way to go. But I wanted to update you guys really quick. And if you have followed me on Instagram, you might have seen some of this, so it might be a little repetitious for you. But I want you guys to get an idea of what my plans are for the next tank. So what I did was I roughly laid out the dimensions and the footprint of the tank that I want to build. So it will not be a perfect rectangle is the plan. It's going to have chamfered corners, kind of. So I want, this would be the back corner, and it'll come this way at an angle, and then turn to the face, come down the face of the tank, turn at an angle again, and then come back to here. So the back length of the tank will be over 16 feet long. And the tank itself, the inner dimensions, I want to make 4 feet wide, basically. So the actual tank is probably going to be closer to 4.5 feet wide, something like that. But the cool thing about getting this piece of glass that I got last week was it's not big enough to be the front window, but it's perfect to be this side window. So the piece of glass I got is 4.5 feet by 4.5 feet. So can have, oh, I'm sorry, no, it's 45 inches by 45 inches. So viewing window here, and then big viewing window down the face. And then I thought, no point in a viewing window here, nobody would really be looking through it, but chamfering this like this allows me access to the sump and allows me access to the window. And also chamfering this side opens up this space a lot more. So when you come down the walkout, it'll make this a lot nicer. So rather than coming straight out with it and making it a perfect rectangle. This kind of is more ideal for the room, and it's certainly more ideal for that end because I can actually get by that way. So I thought that that was cool, and to take advantage of this edge with another piece of glass with a second viewing window, I think is going to really set this over the top. So it'll be 4 feet high with approximately 40 inches, maybe a little less than 40 inches of viewing window, and the same thing for the front. So I have a second piece of glass that I got for even a better price that I'm picking up this weekend off of Craigslist. So the glass for both windows is going to have costed me way, way, way less, only a fraction of the cost that this one window cost me to have custom made. And it's still, both windows are 3/4 inch thick, and they are just standard plate glass. So perfect for this application. And again, I really think that the double window, if you can picture it, is going to set this over the top. So I'm really excited about that, and I wanted to give you guys an idea of what that would look like. So, and if you can kind of picture it when this is all finished and all my junk trim equipment is out of here, then ideally I either won't need these tanks at all, or I can at least put one of them on top of this. So if Pinky doesn't play nice when I try to put him with the catfish in this new tank, then I will put his tank on top of this tank, put it all on the same system, and we will still get to keep Pinky. I don't know many other people that could take this aggressive mofo. So it's just kind of a cool thing. I think it'll be really awesome to have another tank on top of this with fish in it, at least one tank on top of it. I've also debated maybe putting the 180 on top of it instead. The 180 is a bit lighter, especially because it's acrylic, so that might be more practical than the 210. But either way, and my sump is going to be a completely different style than this. Again, I'm going for cheap but efficient on this new tank, so bigger, cheaper, and super efficient still will be the goal. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the updates. Not all of it was good news. Had a rough couple weeks, unfortunately. But great things to come. I'm super excited about the new tank project, especially now that I'm getting the glass so quickly and so cheap. That's exciting. It makes me not even care about the basement project and finishing the walls as much. I just want to build that next tank. But one thing at a time. Got to finish the basement walls first. Then I can build the tank in front of it. It'll be worth it in the long run. It just might take a little longer. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for watching as always. Please comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.